This career-driven woman went to the countryside for the first time and immediately noticed something strange. The stores in town had names that were surprisingly similar to her assistant's. This made her start to wonder if the poor guy who had been following her for 3 years might actually be a hidden rich heir. But she would never have imagined that this unexpected trip would completely change the rest of her life. Margaret was the editor-in-chief of a newspaper, earning $1 million a year. Her status in the company was extremely high, second only to the top boss. But her strong-willed image made employees secretly call her an old witch. Andrew, on the other hand, was just an ordinary assistant. Every day he ran around tirelessly for work. Not only did he have to follow Margaret wherever she went, but he also had to run across 10 streets early every morning just to get her favorite coffee. If Andrew bought the wrong coffee, Margaret would mercilessly demand that he work overtime as punishment. And Andrew had been working with Margaret in this environment for 3 years. During those 3 years, Andrew almost never enjoyed a holiday.
And I need you around this weekend to help review his files and his manuscript.
This weekend?
You have a problem with that?
No, I just my grandmother's 90th birthday, so I was gonna go home and it's fine. I'll cancel it.
Margaret was quite satisfied with this on-call assistant, but as an executive, she had to treat everyone equally. Even if it was the deputy editor making a mistake, she would never let it slide.
Bob, I'm letting you go.
Pardon?
You're fired.
Margaret bluntly said that Bob had a careless work attitude, and he was fired.
I will give you 2 months to find another job, and then you can tell everyone you resigned.
Bob hadn't even reacted yet, but Margaret had already walked out. Her arrogant attitude instantly provoked Bob, and he stormed out in anger.
You poisonous!
His cursing echoed through the hallway. He accused Margaret of having a heart of stone and claimed she was destined to be abandoned by love. But Margaret calmly replied,
Listen carefully, Bob. I didn't fire you because I feel threatened. No, I fired you because you're lazy, entitled, incompetent, and you spend more time cheating on your wife than you do in your office. And if you say another word, Andrew here is going to have you thrown out on your ass.
Her logical words instantly left Bob speechless. In the company, Margaret was known for being strong and domineering. This was everyone's impression of her. Although her way of working made it hard for her subordinates to accept, her outstanding ability always made the boss choose tolerance. But this time Margaret made a serious mistake. Because she was too busy with work, she forgot to renew her visa, and when it expired, immigration decided to deport her. For Margaret, this was like a bolt from the blue. What shocked her even more was that the shareholders decided to let the recently fired Bob take her position after she was gone.
Editor-in-chief, he is the only person in the building who has enough experience.
You cannot be serious. I beg of
Margaret,
you. I beg.
we are desperate to have you stay.
But at that critical moment, Andrew unexpectedly walked into the office. Looking at Andrew, Margaret suddenly had a bold idea.
And there's well, I think there's something that you should know. We're getting married. We are getting married.
Who is getting married?
You and I are getting married. Yes.
We are.
Getting married.
We are getting married.
Yes.
Although the leadership was shocked, they still congratulated Margaret. As long as they registered their marriage quickly, Margaret could obtain a new identity and settle legally in the United States.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Without giving Andrew a chance to explain, Margaret dragged him back to the office.
I'm not gonna marry you.
Sure you are. Bob is going to fire you the second I'm gone. Guaranteed. That means you're out on the street alone looking for a job. That means all the time that we spent together, all the lattes, all the canceled dates, all the midnight Tampax runs were all for nothing, and all your dreams of being an editor are gone.
Andrew was stunned. Although he wasn't interested in this woman in front of him, when he thought about the job he had worked so hard at for 3 years, he reluctantly agreed. And once the legal time was up, they could end the marriage immediately. Soon they went to immigration to register their marriage, but the investigator immediately noticed their lack of couple-like chemistry. He warned Margaret and Andrew that if their marriage was only for a green card, it would be a serious violation, possibly leading to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. Faced with this warning, Andrew was extremely nervous, but Margaret quickly responded, saying that they were planning to go to Andrew's hometown this weekend to celebrate his grandmother's 90th birthday and to tell the family about the marriage. After a brief tense moment, Andrew also gathered his courage and made up a romantic love story. He said that because they often worked late together, he had slowly fallen in love with Margaret. Although they barely passed, the investigators still reminded them that 1 week later they would be questioned separately about the details of their romance, and if there was any falsehood they would face prison. After leaving immigration, Andrew felt deeply unbalanced. He believed he was taking a huge risk and deserved more in return, so he gave Margaret new conditions. Besides helping him publish his book, He also wanted a promotion.
Promote you to editor?
Then I quit, and you're screwed. Bye-bye, Margaret.
Faced with such a demand, Margaret had no choice but to compromise. She promised that once she got her green card, she would immediately give him a promotion, but Andrew felt Margaret's attitude was insincere, so he demanded that she show more sincerity.
Ask me nicely.
Ask you nicely what?
Ask me nicely to marry you, Margaret.
Surprisingly, this once high and mighty editor-in-chief now had to lower her proud head for a green card.
Sweet. Andrew,
I'm listening.
would you please, cherries on top, marry me?
This twist finally gave Andrew a moment of triumph. Soon after, Margaret accompanied Andrew back to his hometown. On the plane, Margaret bluntly mocked Andrew's family background, even insisting that after marriage they must live in her house.
And why wouldn't we stay at mine?
Because I live at Central Park West. And you probably live at some squalid little studio apartment with stacks of yellow penguin classics.
Ladies and gentlemen.
But in the face of her sarcasm, Andrew remained calm. After 3 years together, he had already gotten used to Margaret's personality. Even so, Margaret was nervous. She didn't know how to face Andrew's relatives. The plane soon landed, and Andrew's grandmother was already waiting at the fence. As soon as they arrived, Andrew's mother warmly welcomed Margaret. They drove through winding mountain roads and finally reached a small town. But very soon a strange sight caught Margaret's eyes. The shops here all began with Andrew's family name.
Please, don't do that.
You didn't tell me about all the family businesses, honey.
He was probably just being modest, dear.
But this was only the tip of the iceberg. The most shocking part was yet to come. Perhaps because he was back on his own turf, Andrew was no longer speaking softly to Margaret. Instead, he watched her awkwardness with amusement. But when he saw the frightened look on Margaret's face as she came downstairs, he still offered her a hand.
She could off ass.
Soon they boarded a yacht, but Margaret's heart was filled with doubt. Was this really Andrew's home? As her gaze swept past a cliff, a towering castle came into view, and Margaret's suspicion was finally confirmed. Compared to Andrew the rich heir, she was nothing more than a worker. To welcome their son who had been gone for 3 years, the family prepared a grand feast. Margaret also met Andrew's father Joe for the first time. Joe was always very strict, and he firmly opposed his son living the life of an employee. His words were full of mockery toward Andrew's work, but Andrew was already used to it. At the party, Andrew announced that he and Margaret were getting married. In the joyful atmosphere, the crowd started urging them to kiss. To avoid being exposed, they had no choice but to go along. But Andrew never expected that this was actually Margaret's first kiss. And in that slightly drunken atmosphere, emotions stirred in both of them who once seemed impossible together. As night fell, Andrew's mother thoughtfully arranged a quiet room for Margaret and Andrew to share. In front of Andrew's family, Margaret felt uneasy but did not show any sign of refusal. After the family left, Andrew laid out a floor bed. Sharing a room with his boss for the first time, Andrew's heart was tangled like a mess of wires. Margaret was also uneasy, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. Early the next morning, Margaret was awakened by the urgent ringing of the phone. She worried about disturbing Andrew, so she quietly stepped into the yard. But when she answered the phone, she forgot to close the door. At that moment, an expensive dog slipped out and barked at Margaret nonstop. Suddenly, an eagle swooped down from the sky and snatched the little dog away. Margaret ran after it while still on the phone. In desperation, she threw her phone with all her strength and managed to snatch the dog back from the eagle's beak. But the eagle did not give up. It now had its eyes on Margaret's phone. Before she could react, the phone had already been taken away by the eagle.
Isn't that cute?
No! Take the doggy! Take the doggy! I need that phone.
This scene was misunderstood by Andrew's family as Margaret playing with the dog, so they labeled her as someone who loved pets. Andrew was also surprised. He never thought Margaret could have such a cute side. Margaret quietly explained the truth to Andrew, but Andrew still half believed and half doubted.
Oh, I'm serious. He's got my phone and Frank's calling me on that phone.
Seeing this, Andrew told Margaret that tomorrow the family would take her to town where she could buy a new phone. Under the eyes of the family, Andrew and Margaret once again put on a show of intimacy.
Yeah. If you touch my ass one more time, I will cut your balls off in your sleep. Okay? Yeah. There you go. Such a good fiance.
Soon after, Joe found Andrew for a heartfelt talk. He apologized for his harsh words the day before, and since his son was about to marry, he felt he should offer his blessing. However, Joe also honestly expressed his expectations. He hoped Andrew would stay in his hometown and take over the family business.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss it again. You have responsibilities here. I think I've been more than understanding about your goofing off in New York. I need you to quit playing around
Here
and
we
come
go
home.
again. When are you going to start taking what I do seriously?
Well, when you start acting seriously.
I'm sorry.
This conversation still did not resolve the gap between father and son. Not long after, when they returned home, they witnessed Andrew's angry outburst. Knowing her son's temper, Grace was well aware that this was all because of her husband, so she quickly went to find him.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. I mean,
Margaret realized that the upcoming topic was about family matters, so she politely excused herself and left.
I only get to see him every 3 years because of you. You are gonna fix this, Joe. I mean it. Fix it now.
Seeing his wife angry, Joe was unconvinced but dared not say a word. Margaret returned to the room to take a bath, but Andrew, wearing headphones, did not notice.
What the?
Don't look at me!
Living under the same roof, these little accidents in daily life were inevitable. Even as night fell, the awkwardness still lingered between them, but their way of interacting had quietly begun to change. The barrier and distance of the past was being replaced by a deeper sense of consideration. Margaret also shed her hard shell and revealed her softest, truest side. She confided to Andrew her love for light-hearted variety shows, her obsession with melodramatic novels, and even mentioned her first kiss with Andrew.
You are there?
I'm here.
Margaret gradually opened her heart. She spoke of the time Bob insulted her as an old witch. Although she appeared strong on the outside at that moment, inside she was deeply shaken, and whenever she felt that kind of shock she would hide in the restroom and cry quietly.
You are a very, very beautiful woman.
Slowly, a bitter past also came out. When Margaret was only 16, she lost both of her parents. From that moment, flowers became a source of pain for her, because whenever she saw flowers, her mind would return uncontrollably to her parents' funeral. In an atmosphere of equality and respect, their conversation opened a new chapter. In the glow of the fireplace, through countless exchanges, their hearts found resonance with each other, and the seed of love quietly took root without them even noticing. At dawn the next day, a sudden urgent knock echoed at the door. To avoid being exposed, Margaret quickly signaled Andrew to get into bed. Fortunately, no flaws were discovered, but to their surprise, Andrew's parents announced that tomorrow they would hold a grand wedding for them, and it would be combined with the grandmother's birthday banquet. For Margaret and Andrew, this news was like a thunderclap out of a clear sky. They tried to use all kinds of excuses to refuse, but Andrew's grandmother rushed out in excitement, her voice trembling as she expressed her heartfelt wish to witness her grandson's wedding in her lifetime. This deep expectation left Margaret and Andrew unable to refuse. They could only brace themselves and go along, but Andrew's heart was in turmoil. He feared that this fake wedding being exposed would bring unbearable disappointment and pain to his grandmother and mother. Although Margaret maintained calm and composure on the surface, inside her heart was surging like a storm. She kept reminding herself that this was only a deal, but she had already fallen in love with Andrew. Soon Grace and Andrew's grandmother led Margaret into their family's bridal shop. Among the treasured gowns, they picked out a vintage wedding dress for Margaret. Looking at her future daughter-in-law, Grace even shed tears on the spot. Seeing this scene, Margaret felt increasingly uneasy, as if she was betraying this deep expectation. Then Andrew's grandmother took out a family heirloom. She softly told Margaret that it was left behind by her great-grandfather, a treasure that had endured 150 years of history, and now it was to be entrusted to her. Faced with such a precious gift, Margaret felt completely at a loss.
It makes us feel like we'll still be part of your lives even after we're gone.
Margaret was deeply moved by this long-lost family warmth. Her eyes grew moist, and at the same time a surge of indescribable guilt washed over her. Afterwards, Margaret found Andrew and quickly started the yacht. During these days at Andrew's home, Margaret had felt a kind of family affection she had never known before. Her heart was filled with joy yet also unease. She feared all this beauty was only fleeting, and worried that when the dream ended everything would vanish like smoke. And this dream woven by a fake marriage was bound to collapse. Andrew keenly sensed the fluctuations in Margaret's emotions. He quickly came to the helm, but suddenly a buoy appeared out of nowhere in front of them. Andrew turned the wheel sharply and accidentally threw Margaret into the water.
Sorry. Come on. Sorry. It's okay. It's okay.
They hurried back home. Before they could recover, Margaret's father called them into the warehouse. It turned out that immigration officer Mr. Gilbertson had tracked them down, and he revealed to Joe that Margaret and Andrew's marriage was fake. Mr. Gilbertson demanded Andrew tell the truth in front of Joe, promising that as long as Andrew confessed he would show mercy. But Andrew did not hesitate and chose to stand firmly by Margaret's side.
I've been working for Margaret Tate for 3 years. 6 months ago, we started dating. We fell in love. I asked her to marry me. She said yes. I'll see you at the wedding.
Surrounded by flowers and applause, Andrew and Margaret went through with the wedding as scheduled. Margaret held her grandmother's hand and slowly walked into the sacred wedding hall. But just as the officiant began to recite the vows, Margaret interrupted him.
I do have something I need to say.
Margaret. Can it wait till after?
Under the gaze of all the guests, Margaret confessed her past and bravely revealed the truth about their fake marriage. She even took all the responsibility upon herself.
You have a beautiful family. Don't let this come between you. This was my fault. I'm sorry.
The guests instantly fell silent. The entire hall sank into a moment of stillness. Only Mr. Gilbertson smiled smugly. At that moment, Andrew felt an indescribable sense of loss and emptiness. These days he had seen the vulnerability and tenderness beneath Margaret's strong exterior, and today he had witnessed her courage and sincerity with his own eyes. It was then that he realized he had truly fallen in love with this woman. He could not let her face the hardship alone, so he resolutely chased after her. But Joe firmly blocked Andrew's way. Just then, Andrew's grandmother suddenly had a heart attack. Everyone rushed to put her on the helicopter. In that anxious moment, the grandmother suddenly pulled off her mask.
I'm feeling much better, Sonny. No need to take us to the hospital. Take us to the airport, please.
But it was already too late. Margaret had boarded the plane to New York. To make up for past mistakes, Joe quickly used his connections to arrange a plane. While Margaret was packing her things, Andrew arrived at the New York office and came to her side.
Because I've been running.
Yeah, well, I don't have time to talk. I need to catch a 5:45 to Toronto.
Margaret.
So I need the boxes to go out today. I want to make sure everything is safe.
Margaret, stop talking!
3 days ago, I loathed you. Then we had our little adventure up in Alaska, and things started to change. Things changed when we kissed, even when you checked me out when we were naked. But I didn't realize any of this until I was standing alone in a barn, wifeless. Now, you can imagine my disappointment when it suddenly dawned on me that the woman I love is about to be kicked out of the country. So, Margaret, marry me.